Naruto Shippuden episode 167, the climactic confrontation between the Nine Tails and Pain, and also an episode infamous for its animation. Everybody knows the face that Pain makes when he says, "My pain is much greater than yours," becoming completely distorted and uncanny. This has become a meme that even transcends the Naruto community. This particular scene is referenced many times as how not to animate your anime, and if you type worst animations, you're probably gonna find this image on top of your search bar. So why on earth would they animate one of the most important and climactic battles in the Naruto series so poorly? Why would they not put more effort into it? After all, everybody knows this is one of the most beloved arcs in the series. Pain is a very good villain, and the final confrontation against the protagonist is supposed to be a grand event of the series. And the answer for this question is, this episode wasn't poorly animated at all. As a matter of fact, this was the episode with the best animation quality in the entire Naruto series. The only episode in the franchise that has surpassed it so far is Naruto and Sasuke vs Momoshiki and Boruto in terms of sheer animation quality. And don't click away from the video, you may be disagreeing with me. Well, what the hell? No, it's terrible! It is not. It is very good animation. Let me explain. Weekly anime, when they were more prominent, because nowadays most shonen anime are seasonal anyways, but once weekly anime was the norm, and they had to release one episode every single week, they usually saved their best animators and animation efforts for the most important moments in the series. Usually they did 6 episodes of mediocre animation for 1 episode of great animation, or 12 episodes of mediocre animation for 2 episodes of consecutive great animation, because it's simply not really possible to make great animation for every single episode. It's difficult to do so when the anime is seasonal, so imagine when you have to release a single episode every week. And yes, Naruto is not the anime with the greatest animation out there, not even close. There are a lot of memes about it. The Pain meme is the most prevalent one, but there's also the meme, "Never pause Naruto," which is a big fallacy because whenever you pause something, there's a great chance it's not gonna look good. A video, even of a person talking, is gonna look weird when you pause it in a particular way. The face is gonna be all twisted and weird, but when the video is in motion, it looks fine. The same thing is applied to anime in general. There are many animation frames that when looked individually, look weird as hell, but when they are in motion and when the animation is fluid, they look great because it's part of the animation. They're not supposed to be seen paused. Although yes, it is funny to pause in a particular funny frame, the animation, but it's not supposed to be something serious that you should, "Oh, don't pause Naruto because there are some particularly bad frames." Yes, there are some legitimately terrible animation moments in the Naruto anime that you don't have to pause to realize they're terrible. However, Six Tails vs Pain is certainly not one of those. That episode has pretty much all-around fluid animation for its entire runtime, which is pretty insane. There are only a few other moments in the Naruto series that are so well animated as that part, which I'll be listing here to explain why Pain vs Six Tails is so great. We have Sasuke vs Orochimaru in the Forest of Death. Then we have Rock Lee vs Gaara, Hiruzen vs Hashirama and Tobirama and also Orochimaru, and Naruto vs Sasuke in the Valley of the End in part 1. Then going to Shippuden, we have Kakashi vs Kakuzu, 1 episode of Deidara vs Sasuke, 1 episode of Jiraiya vs Pain, Itachi vs Sasuke, Sasuke vs Killer Bee, Pain vs the Six Tails, 1 episode of Sasuke vs Danzo, Madara vs the Shinobi Alliance, the episode when the 9 and the 8 Tails fight against the 10 Tails and the Alliance arrives, Obito vs the Blood Mist Anbu, Kakashi vs Obito, and the final battle between Naruto and Sasuke. These are the best episodes in terms of animation quality. Yes, there are some other episodes that are also pretty good, but these that are just cited are the top-notch ones in the Naruto series. Most people would agree with me that every single one of these episodes is extremely good, except for the Naruto vs Pain one. And most of these amazing peak animation scenes in the Naruto series are original from the anime. Many of these scenes weren't present in the manga, and the animators just thought, okay, let's do something special for this fight, something that people will remember it for. And the Six Tails vs Pain fight is one of those examples. Now, probably the most glaring example of the animators doing extra stuff for the fight in the anime was the Kakashi vs Obito fight, because back when it came out in the manga, nobody really talked about that fight. It's very lackluster, not terribly impactful. Sure, the emotional impact's still there, but the choreography and the fight itself, it's nothing to write home about. But then when the anime came out, they improved the battle so much, it became a staple Naruto fight, and it's one of many people's favorites now. And this is what an anime adaptation is supposed to do. It's supposed to improve upon the source material. Now, most of the time, the Naruto anime does not do that whatsoever, because they are trying to save as much as they can in the animation department so that they can spend on the right moment. But why do people think these episodes are so great? And they are. It's because the animation is very fluid, meaning meaning that they spent more of their budget on those episodes and used their best animators in them, giving the animators creators enough time to make something great. And what many of those episodes have in common is that there are scenes where the characters have their designs very much simplified in order for the animation to look more fluid, and there's also a lot of distortion in the animation itself to make it look more energetic and powerful, especially when the characters are fighting in hand-to-hand. Look at this punch that Hashirama lands on Hiruzen. Hiruzen's face gets deformed. Also, remember the iconic 6-piece combo that Naruto lands on Sasuke in the Valley of the End? Sasuke gets very distorted there as well. You can even see him making this bizarre pained face when he gets punched in the stomach. Also, take a look at the Madara animation when he's going through the Alliance. If you pause at any given frame, he's gonna look weird as hell, but when it's moving, it's awesome. Or even the Sasuke versus Orochimaru scene in the Forest of Death. There's a lot of distortion in the animation, and there are several times that when characters get punched, their faces are caved in by the fist. And it's pretty comedic when you pause and realize, okay, the face is like completely distorted. It's impossible for somebody to get punched like that and not die. But this is simply them using the animation to tell a story and to say that punch was extremely powerful. And then when we go back to Six Tails versus Pain, we get the same thing. The distortions and impacts and smear frames are turned up to 11 in that fight, because the animators really wanted to sell the power behind the strikes and how intense the entire situation was. They probably also felt like they had more liberty to do so, because as Pain is a dead body, he wouldn't be feeling all those things like a real person would. So yeah, we can stretch things out a little bit more and show, okay, this thing is not really a human being that's alive anymore, so let's really make him go through these distortions and make it seem like, yeah, a real person couldn't take this, but a dead body can, because it's dead. And one thing that kind of annoys me is when people say, wow, they ruined the Pain vs. Nine Tails fight in the anime, but did you read the manga fight? If you don't know this, most of the Six Tails vs. Pain fight in the anime is original from the anime itself. They made the fight much longer than the manga counterpart, because in the manga, Naruto sees Hinata getting stabbed, and the Nine Tails' chakra goes crazy. Naruto goes 4 tails, and then he immediately goes 6 tails. He doesn't fight Pain in his 4-tail state, and after he goes 6 tails, the first Hokage's necklace tries to subdue the chakra. He breaks the necklace, and then he attacks Pain. Pain uses Shinra Tensei on the 6 tails. The 6 tails resist the Shinra Tensei, which also happens in the anime, but it's very different in the anime because they are in the water and all those crazy things are happening. In the manga, it's much more plain. Then Pain gets shot back. The 6 tails charges the Bijudama. Pain tosses that massive rock, exploding the Bijudama before the 6 tails can launch it. And then Pain runs away from the village. There's no chase, nothing. I mean, the 6 tails goes after him, but you don't see like this big chase happening that we see in the anime. And then he uses Chibaku Tensei. So from Naruto using the Nine Tails' chakra to Pain casting Chibaku Tensei, that's about a chapter and a half, with no dialogue between the fighters. Yes, they cut away to some other characters in the middle of the fight, and they talk, but the fighters themselves, they don't talk to each other because Naruto's like consumed by the Nine Tails' chakra and doesn't have an intellect of his own. So if they adapted the fight just like it was in the manga, the Six Tails versus Pain fight would have lasted about a minute and a half in the anime. That feels a little short for such a climactic fight, especially because it's the first time we see the Six Tails. Now, I'll say this, the 2-page spread that showed the Six Tails with those bones for the first time is extremely cool in the manga, and it was better than the anime version, but that's to be expected, right? Individual drawings of more static things are always going to look better in the manga because you just have to draw it once. You don't have to keep on drawing it for a while because you need 24,000 frames to make an episode. But the thing is, in the anime, they extended the fight. It's 5 to 6 times longer than it is in the manga. They added a lot of crazy things that happen, those roots, the water, Naruto shooting laser beams at Pain when he's using Chibaku Tensei, the big chase after they leave the Leaf Village, the Six Tails launching 1,000 missiles at Pain at the same time. All those scenes are anime original, and they are so fluid. The animation is so kinetic, and there are some beautiful moments as well, such as the meteor shower that the Nine Tails creates when it's inside of Chibaku Tensei. That's also an anime original scene, and it looks amazing. And of course, I am not saying that the manga version of the fight is bad, much in the contrary. Kishimoto made the confrontation feel extremely epic and iconic, and the beats of the fight worked great in the manga. It didn't feel rushed whatsoever. The problem is that the manga and the anime are completely different mediums, and once you translate the manga into the anime, there are some things that you can do to make it better. Otherwise, the fight here would be extremely short, and therefore probably disappointing. Like, can you imagine if the fight ended after a minute and a half? It wouldn't feel as monumental as this moment is supposed to. And even though it felt that way in the manga because of how Kishimoto draws things, in the anime it would simply be too quick for you to enjoy and appreciate the gravity of the situation. So they add many more bits to the fight in the anime, Pain fights the 4 tails for a while before he goes 6 tails, and even the 6 tail fight has a lot more stuff than the manga does, which certainly isn't a problem for the manga. As I said before, it's great the way it is. If Kishimoto added many more different exchanges between Pain and the 9 tails like it's in the anime, then the fight would feel a little bit too dragged out, because it would occupy a lot of page time that you don't really feel when you watch the anime because it goes by much faster. And the climactic resolution for that fight is Naruto meeting with Minato. That's the emotional core of the end of the fight, and the most impactful thing about it, how Minato stops Naruto from going completely ballistic with the 9 tails and losing himself. And that part's delivered perfectly in the manga as well. And objectively speaking, this episode was the best animated episode in the entire series. It's the episode with the most fluid animation, and definitely the episode where they spent the most budget on in all 700 episodes of the Naruto series, including Part 1 and Shippuden. But that's just objectively speaking. You can subjectively dislike the choices they made for the episode, which is a completely different thing. Yes, the distortions and smear frames were much more present than in any other fight in the entire series, and you can think that Pain looks too goofy sometimes in this episode for your liking. So you can dislike their animation choice there, but you cannot say this episode was poorly animated. And also the thing is that Naruto is an extremely popular anime. It is the most popular anime of all time. This is not an opinion by Diagonite, this is literal facts. You can check on Google Trends, for example. So because it's the most popular anime, it's the anime that's going to attract the most normies. Or even people that don't watch that much anime, but they watch Naruto. So they're not necessarily used to these more experimental types of animation styles. Take Mob Psycho, for example. It's extremely well animated. There's a lot of distortion, so moments that look kind of like that fatidical Pain scene. But everybody praises Mob Psycho because it's well animated and it's a more niche anime. So it's not the type of anime that John, your high school quarterback's gonna be watching and say, wow, Mob looks so weird in that scene, bro. And they're gonna do that in the Pain scene. John would be thoroughly satisfied if the Naruto anime simply made some very stilted animations where the characters only move their mouths and occasionally punch each other without a lot of fluidity to their movements. So long as the scenes look kinda cool and the music's good, then most normies will be fine about it. But then when they see something a little bit weirder and more experimental, then they're not gonna like it very much, and they're gonna react in the way many people do react when they watch the Pain scene for the first time. And I understand this. I personally am not a big fan of a few moments of animation in this episode. They look a little bit too goofy and take away from the tension of the fight. This fight's not supposed to be comedic at all. Hinata just quote-unquote died. Naruto's going crazy. You're supposed to be afraid of everything that's about to happen now. If the 9 tails takes over completely, Naruto dies and the Leaf Village is destroyed. Well, more destroyed than it already was because Pain opened a massive crater in the village, but I mean, a lot of people survived because Tsunade saved them using Katsuyu, so they were still in danger if the 9 tails went crazy. Like, do you think Yamato would really be able to contain the full might of the 9 tails? I don't think so, man. He may have wood style, but he ain't no Hashirama. But then there are these particular 4 moments in episode 167 that I don't like, that look too goofy. Even though they are well animated moments, I do not enjoy them. Which is the moment Pain is using Chibaku Tensei and he's screaming, pressing his hands together. His face just looks weird there. Then there's that moment that the 4 tails is smashing Pain in the head, like a mallet is smashing a nail. It looks really goofy, especially because of the repetition. If it was just one rock smash, it would probably be fine. Then there's the moment that Pain looks like a road runner. You really didn't have to animate his legs like that. And obviously there's the moment of my pain is much greater than yours. And you see, this was not bad animation. Pain didn't look all deformed that way because the animators didn't have time to make the scene. No, that was a conscious choice. The animation style changed for those 5 seconds of episode in order to sell how unhinged Pain was in the moment. The problem is that the style, it just didn't work. That was a little bit too far. It was exaggerated. But it wasn't bad animation because that moment is fluid too. There are some other moments of heavy distortion in the scene, especially when Pain gets punched, but I think those moments look fine and they resemble many other moments that happen throughout the series. So if they just animated those 4 moments a little bit differently so that they don't look unintentionally goofy, then everybody would love this episode. For the unhinged Pain scene, they could have chosen another type of stylization, something like they used when Sasuke goes crazy from time to time in the Valley of the End, or even when he kills Danzo with a Chidori spear through Karin. different. Or they could have used that different animation style that they used when the Ninetales was attacking the Leaf Village for a little bit, or when Obito was trying to resist Zetsu trying to take him over and use Rin Tensei with his body. Those moments look very raw and powerful, but they don't look goofy. It's just a different type of animation and even stylization that sells what's going on in the scene. The problem is that the unhinged pain scene looks funny even if you don't pause it. If you just watch it, it looks weird. It's a problem because it takes you out of the fight, out of the episode for a while. You're just like, what the hell was that? That was weird. And you kind of laugh about it. It wasn't just one particular funny frame that you may pause in. No, it was the entire sequence of pain looking strange. But the animation for this episode is overall gorgeous, with a few hiccups here and there. I still love Naruto Shippuden 167. That when you rewatch and you know what to expect, you know what's gonna happen when pain says, my pain is much greater than yours, it doesn't really take you out of the episode anymore, and you can just enjoy the story for what it is. And also the great animation in the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already, like the video to help me with the YouTube algorithm, and ring those notifications so you always know when videos come out. Watch this other cool Naruto video right here, and thank you so much for watching.